Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Blue Otter Platinum League. We are already on to week 5, which means that after game 1 tonight, we will have officially reached the halfway point of the Season 11 regular split, as there are, of course, 9 weeks total to complete the round robin before we get into playoffs. Last week, we saw a couple of our stronger teams face off, and it was the Conduit Gremlins who managed to maintain their undefeated record by taking down the Goon Squad. This week, the best of 3 on the docket is a brawl at the bottom of the barrel as the Big Duck Entourage get ready to take on First Class Esports. Last time we saw the Big Ducks was back in week 2, and it did not go well for them. They were mercilessly hunted down by the aforementioned Goon Squad Gaming. Unfortunately, the Waterfowl have remained winless in the weeks since. They have been going up against some very strong opponents, losing out 0-2 against SG Proton in week 3 and 0-2 at the hands of Dynasty Celestials in week number 4. This week could be the opportunity that the Big Ducks have been waiting for, as they are matched up against another team who has also been struggling. And in addition, there are some rumors of a formidable new solo laner joining the flock. First time on stream tonight for First Class Esports. They also had a bit of a rough one last week against Agni Kai, who decided to add some insult to the injury by doing a little role swapping in game number 2 and still managing to come away with the 2-0 over FCE. However, this week is, of course, a great opportunity for First Class Esports as well. They do technically have more individual game wins than their opponents so far this season, despite being lower in the standings. The pundits are predicting a 2-0 for the Big Ducks tonight, but I wouldn't count First Class out just yet. So, will the Big Duck Entourage manage to maintain their altitude over the bottom 2 teams in the standings, or will First Class Esports usurp their spot and put themselves in playoff position? My name, as usual, is Crewman44, and I am joined by the audacious Alls for another week of BOL Platinum. Howdy, Alls. How are things?
Man, it's always a pleasure to be here and be a part of the Blue Otter League, crewman. But, there is something I want to bring up that's real important to all of this prep that you laid out for us here about this game. There are 10 teams in the Plat League. 6 will make it to the playoffs. So these teams, they don't have a whole lot of runway left. Those first couple of seeds have already just about guaranteed that unless the world falls apart, they're not going to be out of playoffs. So there are just a few spots left up for grabs. If you lose another game here and fall even further behind the curve, you are almost guaranteed not to make it to the postseason. So this game isn't only about finding some momentum moving into the back half of the season, it's about keeping that season alive.
Yeah, absolutely right, Alls. I was actually under the impression that there were 8 teams that were going to be making it into the playoffs, but my source for that information were the playoff brackets from previous seasons. So maybe not the most reliable there. But one thing at least is for certain, and that is, as you were just mentioning, both of these teams really do need to start picking up these wins to get themselves in a good spot, looking towards that potential postseason berth.
Yeah, we do want to keep y'all up to date, of course, because we are way behind on schedule, but one of the teams is having some issues with a player. We are currently waiting on seeing what's going to happen there, but in the meantime, you get to hear me and Crewman talk, and Crewman, there's a lot to talk about all across Tier 3 and Tier 4. We got the NACL promotions going on. Those were some fun games yesterday, some fun games today. We've got some great Blue Otter League action going on across the Rift. There are various teams playing right now. We've got great games all throughout the week. We should be getting an Emerald League ping soon, I do believe. That is on Wednesday.
Indeed. Yeah, lots of exciting things happening right now in the world of League of Legends. Obviously the pro scene as well. North American finals just happening recently. And then the LCK playoffs are ramping up in a big way. But we do also have a brand new patch tonight, Alls, patch number 14.7. What has our dear dictator, David Turley Freak, cooked up for us this time around? Anything jumping out at you as being especially noteworthy?
Yeah, this is a patch of pain, crewman. Just for me, as someone who likes to look at these patch notes and figure out where the balance is really lacking. there are some real questionable decisions that have been made, especially in that top lane. Doesn't so much matter down here in the Gold and Plat leagues, but we see her from time to time, the top lane Rek'Sai. Riot thinks that removing 12 health from her level 1 healing is going to be what they need to do to take her out of the top lane. But I think we're going to keep seeing the Xerxai up in the top lane for a long time to come here, my friend.
Indeed, yeah, I am inclined to agree, Alls. I do think that nerf towards the top lane Rek'Sai is not really going to be felt too severely by anybody who was playing the champion. So definitely think we're still going to be seeing a good amount of that. They did try to adjust Camille a little bit, who has obviously been more popular in the support position recently. They, gave her a little bit more damage on Q and E and a little bit of move speed there. Move speed buff on the Q as well. So potentially we'll be seeing a little bit more Camille in the top lane. Hard to really say for sure. As a jungler myself, obviously, there were a couple of significant jungle changes on this patch. Jungle Rel is completely dead, no longer in the game. Yeah. And they are trying to bring back the Olaf jungle, as well as a little bit of a buff to the Sylas jungle as well. So just rotating through who is going to be allowed to play in the jungle role. We'll see if Olaf and Sylas start to gain any popularity in that position. But there's one change, Ols, that I actually think is far and away the biggest on this patch. It's really contest.
Hit me with it.
That, of course, is the release of the Choo Choo Ornn skin. It's an absolutely massive buff to Ornn, so I'm expecting the priority on the Forge God to just skyrocket here on 14.7.
Hey, you make that joke, but pay-to-win skins are real. I mean, you remember 14.6 had a patch note specifically about Vandal Gragas, which was the only skin that pros would play for a long time because it was the only skin that let you animation cancel. So you never know, right? Might have snuck a little buff in there to our big Ram friend. There is one other thing that I want to talk about regarding these patches, and that is the changes to support. Because they've weakened a couple of those support items, especially Zac. And I worry, looking at these patch notes, that they have overcompensated in the other direction in a couple of champs. Primarily, Lux. Because she was not in a bad place. Lux has been fine, but they gave her buffs that help her mid lane almost more than they help her support. So we may be seeing Lux mid returning to the forefront here.
I think it's a distinct possibility. Lux is one of those champions that's kind of always popular, especially in lower elos, but people just like playing Lux. And so the fact that she did receive those AP scaling buffs on both the passive and the Q could mean that her popularity increases even further. I do think that is something that we absolutely do have to watch out for. I was actually immediately a thought of Keria when I saw those Lux buffs. Obviously, many players across the world do enjoy the Lux, but he is one of the more well-known. But yeah, any update on the player situation for tonight's match, Alls?
It appears we may be getting closer here. I haven't received ready checks from the teams just yet, but we appear to be inching towards the point where we can be getting draft crewmen, and boy, am I ready to start drafting.
Absolutely. Hopefully we will be able to get that underway very soon, guys. Do apologize on behalf of the teams for the delay. Talking about other things happening in the world of League of Legends right now. There is also the Running the Rift Combine that was recently announced. That's pretty exciting as well. For the tier 3 scene. Is there anything concerning that you think we would be relevant for our discussion, Alls?
Yeah, crewman. I mean, I think it's going to be an absolutely fascinating combine here in really not too long, I believe. Those dates have been announced, I believe, for a couple of weekends from now.
A little less than 2 weeks.
Which is
absolutely right.
Coming up real fast. But I've heard through the grapevine that there are hundreds of players already signed up and ready to strut their stuff. So it's going to be a ton of action and a ton of high quality NA amateur content coming to you from a ton of different Running the Rift channels. It's going to be a blast, crewman.
Yeah, that is going to be a ton of content for sure for anybody who does enjoy watching League and, the tier 3 NA scene in particular. That is going to be an event that you do not want to miss. But that is, obviously still a little less than 2 weeks out. Just kind of looking for more things to talk about here. I guess we could go to another break if you think that would be appropriate also, while we still wait for this last player to join us in the lobby. Or if there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
I think if you can get about 45 seconds more yapping, we should be good to go.
Sure,
I think you got
sure.
45 seconds of talking. Yeah.
I think I can. That's what I'm here for, really. So 45 seconds is the least that I think we could really put in there for me. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see what the teams are deciding to prioritize. I think especially in the context of a matchup like this, where the teams are towards the bottom of the standings, right, and they do really need it so badly to keep their hopes of a postseason alive. I do think it's going to be really telling what these teams decide to prioritize. It's we've often said in plat leagues like this, especially at lower elos, that comfort is far and away the most important thing that you can draft for. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of comfort picks do make it through the ban phase and how that ends up playing out in terms of this Game 1 Champion Select. It looks like we are underway now, alls. We do have First Class Esports on the blue side for this first game, the Big Duck Entourage on the red. It looks like no loss of bans will come through. That is, according to the rule book, we are going strictly by the letter here, something that First Class Esports would have had to contend with. But the Big Ducks magnanimously have decided to allow all of these bans to remain for First Class Esports. It will be the Big Ducks, that is, will be on the red side for this game number 1.
Yeah, I do believe my logos here are backwards.
Never mind.
No, you are correct. The Big Ducks are on the red side. I just
Excellent.
seem to have
the
logos backwards on the stream kit here. So,
well, that's all right.
Minor
we do have our... No worries. I'm sure you'll get that straightened away in no time at all, Mr. Alls, as we do have our first ban phase completed already. So the Zeri, the Karma, and the Volibear banned away by First Class. Ari, Kaisa, and Maokai going to be taken away by the Ducks. Jarvan on the B1. Zach in response. Likely the jungle selection, although, of course, we have seen Zach become reasonably popular in the solo lanes as well. And we do have, I briefly mentioned earlier on, Alls, the fact that we do have a new player on the roster for the Big Ducks tonight. The NWL champion Outrage has joined the roster here for the Big Ducks, and it looks like, I believe, will be playing for them in the mid lane tonight.
Yeah, moving up in the ranks. That's what you love to see in amateur. You start in the Gold League, you move to the Plat League, and suddenly you're up there playing Masters with the big dogs. But pretty fast here, Ashe into Jinx Nautilus, crewman. Now, we've seen in the past few days, Jinxes go absolutely hog wild. Get a couple of kills in the early game, you completely snowball out of control, and there is nothing that the enemy team can do. Especially with a high engage, high lockdown support like Nautilus, and into a champ like Ashe that doesn't have a lot of ways to get away. This is very, very dangerous for BDE, and the Alistar will at least keep him a little bit more safe here.
Yeah, certainly will. Is going to allow the Ashe, to be able to play a little bit far forward, knowing that she has that disengage option by her side in the Alistar. But it is a little bit surprising, right, that we would see the Ashe prioritized over the Jinx, given the fact that the Jinx has looked so strong, recently over the last couple of weeks. But clearly, that is the call from the Big Ducks, and I wonder if that is actually a sort of a comfort pick kind of situation. Who is on the Rift tonight for the Big Ducks? In the ADC position,
we have CB Axel going down.
Excel going back over to ADC, playing the Ashe. So Excel does have a reasonable number of Ashe games, more Ashe games than Jinx games. It's 12 at 67% for Excel on the Ashe. So pretty good stats there. Through the second ban phase, Darius Silas banned away by First Class, Cassio Seraphine banned away by the Ducks. Looking at the Aatrox as an option here on R4, but to continue discussing Excel just for a brief moment here, it is quite interesting. Excel, I believe, is the team captain over there for the Big Ducks as well. No, not the team captain, but has been someone who has been heavily involved with the team and has actually been playing in every position so far this season, alls except for jungle. Excel has been, all over the map trying to find something that is going to work out for them, but nothing has just yet. But maybe tonight is the night where that changes.
Look, crewman, I get it. Nobody wants to play jungle, and they are all correct.
No, you're right, of course. It is often the least fun role, but that's really more true in solo queue, I think. I would actually argue that in coordinated 5v5 play, jungle is actually one of the more fun roles to play,
Okay.
in my opinion.
I will say this.
Um,
Coordinated 5v5s are the only place where I've been able to play jungle. Everywhere else, I just run it down. So,
yeah,
I'll take that.
Oh, I think that is pretty much according to par. So when you are, of course, in a 5-stack with voice comms, then you are able to communicate much clearly, not only what your own plans are, but also where the enemy jungler is. That's one of the more frustrating things about jungle and solo queue is all those pesky laners just dying all the time, just for fun. But anyways, getting back to this draft discussion here, we do have Nico and Poppy that did get locked away by first class over there on blue side to round out their composition. So some more setup, some more frontline for the Jinx, and then the Aurelion Soul gonna round things out for the big ducks. That is going to outrage in the mid lane on the R5.
Yeah, I don't know about that, crewman. It feels a little bit like a split focus here, because you're not going to outscale Jinx, especially not on Ashe. So, well, okay, it's a good, have it in your back pocket kind of pick, especially when you're laning into what you already know is a Nico Jarvan that can really abuse that early game. It just feels like you're begging to be put incredibly far behind.
That is fair. Yeah, the Aurelion Soul can struggle into early aggressive mid jungles like the Nico Jarvan. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with the fact that he just gets outscaled by Jinx by default. Jinx does obviously scale extremely well and does come pretty close to matching the range of the A Soul, but I think that is relatively contextual.
No, I was saying that Jinx hard outscales the Ashe.
Oh, right. Yes, though that I think is definitely true. Yeah, but I in that context, then we could say that the Aurelion Soul gives the big ducks some much needed scaling. Then, towards those later stages where the Ashe might fall off a little bit, isn't really a traditional hyper carry, right? But the Aurelion Soul should be able to augment the team's damage output in potentially a much needed way.
I mean, sure, but by the same token, you can go ahead and from BDE, knowing that you're looking into a late game scaling, and you've picked a bot lane that is just going to go even early. It's not going to win. Ashe, they took away all of her early game power, and Alistar is here as a please don't touch my ADC button. So your big power point for BDE is right after you break lane phase, when that Alistar Ashe can start roaming around the map and getting picks. And I don't think that getting a mid laner who wants to be waiting till 30 minutes before he really has an impact is a good fit for that. I would have loved to have seen a mid laner that can pick it up in the mid game, that can really let this BDE team stall out the early game, make this J4 feel useless, and then come alive at 15, 16 minutes, get that early Baron, get those Drakes stacked early, and end the game before Jinx becomes a menace.
Yeah, I think that is a good shout, Alls. There definitely are other mid lane champions that I think would have synergized with the rest of the Big Duck Entourage composition. Maybe a little bit better, maybe, a little bit more towards that mid game spike like you're talking about. Although, I will say, if we take a page out of the Team Liquid book, out of the Yappa book, they were drafting almost like even more scaling than what the Big Duck Entourage have here. And then they were still just playing aggressively in the early and mid game anyways. And it kind of worked, didn't it?
I mean, sure. And we saw that just yesterday as well in the NACL promotion tournament, where we had a Jinx that was legendary by not 8 minutes, about 10 minutes, just absolutely popping off everywhere. So
yeah, I mean,
it makes sense, but I
Even
don't
on
know.
Monday in the Masters League as well. Remember, we had that crazy game where Jinx was like 8-0 at like 5 minutes or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely. Like, it does
These stealing
happen,
picks.
but if you try that aggression and you fail, you're beyond the pale. But
Very true. Nice
only
rhyme.
time will tell, crewman. Any final thoughts here looking at this draft? I've made it clear who I think has the upper hand. Who do you think, nameplates off, is going to win this game?
Well, it's an interesting question, Alls. I do really honestly like the drafts from both sides. I think both sides have given themselves the kind of the most important thing in an important match like this. The team has really been struggling. You really need to find a win, something you haven't been able to do very much of this season. I think the most important thing to draft for in a situation like that is hard engaged. You need to be able to have a composition that's easy to pilot, that can start fights when you need to, and can really try to zero out the enemy carries. And I think both sides have done a good job of that. Both sides have really strong engage, and both sides have reasonably good scaling options as well, as we do move towards those mid and later stages. Personally, I would say nameplates off. I don't know. I mean, the Poppy, I think, does have a good amount of value into the Big Duck composition here. I do really like that Poppy selection, and the fact that Jinx has just been so powerful lately does lead me to, I think, align with you in the vote towards the first class draft here on the blue side for game one.
I would have loved to have seen an Orianna to make that J4 Wombo combo even better, but Nico
Sure.
is a close second in terms of power. You get into that Cataclysm, you pop the Blossom, and you have completely decimated the enemy team. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off here.
Absolutely. I think the mid jungle is going to be critical to look out for in the early minutes here for first class esports. On the other side, Zach has the option to go for some creative gank angles of his own. So we'll have to see how the early game does shape out in this game number one, guys. 8th place in the Big Ducks versus 9th place in first class esports. A position towards the top of the bottom in terms of the standings is on the line here as we move into the break before game number one. See you on the Rift. All right, everybody, on to the Rift we go for game number 1 here in week number 5. First Class Esports going to be on the blue side for this first one, and the Big Duck Entourage over on the red. Titan was playing for them last week as well. They've got Excel back in the 80 carry position. Outrage coming in as the new mid laner. Sapsweet, I believe, was originally the top laner at the start of the season, now taking a position in the jungle. And they've got Vendetta coming in to fill that spot in the top lane. Over on the other side, the one win that First Class Esports have managed to get, the one game win, they haven't secured a match win, the game win that they have gotten this season was all the way back in week 2. Oh, hang on a second, actually. I have to stop the narrative. Outrage is going to be all right. It's going to take a little bit of a dredge line, but the Dragon's not going to care too much. As I was saying, all the way back in week 2 versus the Nameless Gnomes, that was the First Class mid laner was Jack Gallows at the time. Went 14, 6, and 9 on Briar and carried game number 1. But Briar was banned for the rest of the series, and Nameless ended up winning out 2-1. So First Class obviously still looking for their first match win of the season. They don't have Jack Gallows this week, but we'll see what Merciful Crow is going to be able to get done with the Nico.
Yeah, and Crewman, I did want to talk about that early level 1 trade here onto Outrage, because it seemed like a nothing burger, right? Rex just landed the hook, wasn't going to actually have any follow-up damage because it was only Narva there, but wasn't able to back Merciful Crow with that blooming, or the Q rather, was able to stop the ports. So that means Outrage starts this lane at half health. He's not going to have any pressure, not going to have the ability to get that early level 2 and prevent Crow from doing something. So there's a big opportunity here for Narva to get that level 2 or level 3 gank off and really put the Dragon behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Something we will have to look out for. Jarvan did start over on the top side as level 2 for the First Class bot lane. Does come through. Dredgeline going to land onto Titan's Alistar, who does get chunked down extremely low, down to about 100 HP. Will hold on to both summoners, though, as Excel trades back a little bit onto the Jinx. Has to be careful, though. You don't want to be trading too many of these autos while you're down a level.
Yeah, Ashe does have both pots and biscuits here, so we'll be able to maintain the overall health advantage, but still, that's great for this bot lane of First Class, especially if they can get another trade before the Alistar passive starts kicking in and healing up this BDE bot lane. With that health advantage, you can't really use that Alistar to zone away the Nautilus like they desperately need this lane to do. Instead, though, it looks like we're just going to get a wave crash and an early cheater recall from D-Nut and Rex by that Cole, most likely here, if you're the Jinx, or no, just a longsword even, just wants to push forward with the aggression.
Vendetta is also getting chunked out extremely low towards this top side as the Big Duck Entourage lanes do seem to be struggling a bit early on here. Both junglers have gone for the top to bot clear, both pathing down towards that bot lane. A little bit disappointed that we're not seeing the J4. Oh, hero charge into the wall. There's the Poppy gameplay, the turret shot, though. There's TLP, the minion autos. Oh, they will eventually take down the Poppy as we go 1 for 1, but Notorious with the first blood.
That's really unfortunate for Poppy dying there as opposed to being able to back and save that goal. But we're going to have to hold that thought as bot lane's fighting again.
Setting it up. In comes Narva, though, looking to turn this play around. Oh, Excel just flashed into the EQ, I think. It will be the Nautilus taken down first. D not able to trade back onto the Ashe. Titan now barely able to make it away. Sapsweet coming in with the elastic slingshot. Gets the pullback onto Narva as well. But Zac and Alistar just don't have any damage to turn that play around. And it's going to end up as a triple kill for Jinx again. It's just like Monday olds.
And we missed in the mid lane. Merciful Crow got a solo kill as well, Crewman.
Oh, wow.
First Class really coming out swinging, acting like they're not a bottom tier team, but Notorious taking a huge trade there. That was something incredible out of Vendetta. Crewman, though, I want to go back to that bot lane because I said one thing about this that they could not do, and that is let Jinx get kills early. What have they done? They have fed her 3 kills. She is going to have the fully completed Noon Quiver. She is going to be off to the races here. And I don't think that they're going to be able to gank their way back into making this Ashe relevant. This bot lane is already lost.
It's really tough. Yeah, I mean, when you're playing the Ashe into the Jinx, as you were discussing earlier on during the draft phase, you really want to have some pressure in that lane because you know that the Jinx is going to outscale eventually. But when the Jinx starts out with 3 kills, she's basically already outscaled. So yeah, it's pretty doomed, honestly, as you were just saying. You know, Sabsweet, you got to feel for him. He was just a little bit late to the play, wanted to get in there to try to save his support at least, but was not able to do so. Just ends up giving over another kill to the Jinx. We'll be able to secure all 3 of the grubs, though, as Rex does manage to grab the Zac while he's charging up the slingshot. Sabsweet will be able to flash over the wall. Here comes the Merciful Crow, looking for the Tangle Barbs. We'll be able to find, as that's Zyra's E, actually, isn't it, the Tangle Barb? It's a Nico E?
I believe that's Nico E.
Oh, it is a Nico E. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the Tangle
Oh, no,
Barbs
Outrage. Whew.
will not matter as the Pop Blossom will come out. That's a lot of damage. The Blooming Burst, I believe, is the Nico Q there, and Outrage just kind of sat in it and will go down.
A little bit of a push here on the bot side, but there's just not enough. As we mentioned, Axel not exactly super huge in the early damage department either, so they can't orchestrate a dive. Good roam by Rex, and good awareness to know that his ADC is never in any real threat.
Absolutely, yeah, great highlight there. It was a fantastic roam from the Nautilus to be able to get up there. They weren't in time to actually contest the grub take, but getting the flash off the Zac, I think, is absolutely worthwhile, and then able to move over and support for that mid lane play as well. Really great stuff. They will be able to secure the first dragon now for the side of First Class. It will be a trade of those early neutrals.
Hey now, crewman. That's third dragon. They've already gotten outraged twice.
True, fair enough. Yeah, so they're actually already on Soul Point here, 7 minutes into the game. That is
That's how that works.
breakneck pace. Yeah.
They may have found Rex here, though.
In trouble now. Yeah, D-Nut with the 3 kills going to come over, try and turn this one around. The Nautilus will not be saved, but neither will Excel, as this Jinx is truly accelerated. D-Nut picking up kill number 5 there at 7.5 minutes. He is going to have first item in base, I believe. Going to be able to get the crash here on the minion wave. This is getting ugly real quick.
All right, crewman, before I hit that X button and reveal, how much gold does D-Nut have right now overall?
Ooh, how much gold? How much gold? Like total or
yeah, total,
in
total
pocket?
gold.
Total, I'm gonna go with 4.5K.
I'm gonna say 3,500, but
Okay.
right
you were
down
closer.
the middle,
You were closer.
3,900. But that is a fully completed static shiv at 8 minutes, crewman, and that is disgusting.
It is absolutely, you know, the static shiv, 200 gold more expensive on this patch, but Jinx is rolling in it. She can afford that. As Vendetta will have to flash away from the Poppy Q, but in comes Sapsweet. They're able to turn that one around. Titan even here for good measure. Wasn't actually needed, but I'm sure the moral support was appreciated for the top jungle there, as the Big Ducks managed to get their Aatrox, his second kill of the game.
Yeah, and that was very nearly a solo kill before that play even developed. But TLP just not quite able to get that combo running quickly and smoothly enough to secure that. Allowed Vendetta to flash out just in time. Downside of that roam is Axel is not as safe as D-Nut was when left alone, and this means that this Jinx can push forward, get a couple of plates, and harass under tower. It's requiring Outrage and Titan to roam back down just to alleviate the pressure. That's a lot of manpower that they're having to use to keep Axel safe.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 plates already on top of the 5 kills for this Jinx. Absolutely monstrous advantage. Although there is a little bit of a silver lining here, actually, I think, Alls. And that is the fact that the Jinx is really the only threat on this first-class esports composition. And as previously mentioned, the side of the Big Ducks do have quite a lot of engage. They have that ability to single out single targets, as Merciful Crow getting engaged on by that Zac. The engage I was just talking about, as a star is going to fall down from the sky. Merciful Crow with a nice sidestep to get away from that one, but running out of HP, barely able to make it back underneath the tier 1 turret. Narva trapped in his own. Cataclysm is going to get breathed on, and Outrage takes their first kill of the game. In the bot lane, D-Nut will get executed by the turret. So that is a big old shutdown over to the Ashe. But Dina did manage to take down Excel once again before going down as Vendetta in the top lane barely stays alive with the potion ticking.
Boy, you know it's a fun game when every lane is fighting at once, crewman.
Absolutely. But oh man, look at the gold after that bot lane sequence. I mean, it was such a massive lead for Dina down there, but with the huge shutdown given over, that's pretty much tied things up once again. And as we can see, Excel now also on that first completed item.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for D-Nut and Rex. I would have loved to have seen what had gone on to cause that. We're gonna have to put that aside. Sapsweet's in trouble again.
Getting engaged on, already used the smite, so that last grub will go over to the Jarvan. In comes Vendetta, though, with the World Ender. Notorious TLP is low. Can't really participate in this fight anymore. Rex is only level 5 on the Nautilus. Is going to be the first casualty of this fight, as in comes Outrage as well. And the CC comes through. TLP trying to get away desperately, but the Dragon gliding forward will secure yet another kill for the Ducks, as another slingshot connects on a Merciful Crow, but the Nico should be able to get back underneath the tier 1 turret. So it is a 2-for-1, I believe, or was it actually just a 2-for-0 for the Ducks?
Yeah, that was a 2-for-0. Sapsweet, despite going incredibly low, never fell.
Right, yeah, and did manage to secure 2 of the grubs at least. 1 did go over to Narva there, but that is going to bring the Twitch chatters onto Summoner's Rift, right on the side of the big Ducks.
Yeah, a series of very strange plays from First Class, overplaying their hand again and again. I would have liked to have seen that bot lane dive come after Rex hit level 6 for a little bit of that extra guaranteed CC. I would have loved to have seen Merciful be a little bit more aware of the fact that Sapsweet is a very good ganker at level 7 with the level 4 Elastic Slingshot. I would have liked to see the entirety of the team be a little bit more aware of the fact that they didn't have the numbers or the health bar for that contest around the grubbies. But with all of that happening, First Class is, in a way, thrown their lead here. They still have the Jinx, who's very strong. They still have Merciful Crow, who can be an absolute catastrophe for BDE in team fights. But the Aatrox is big. The Ashe is back in the game here, crewman, courtesy largely of that enormous shutdown. And suddenly, First Class is feeling like they're coming in second.
Yeah, it does definitely feel that way. You know, the Asol getting stronger as well, stacking up that Stardust. You know, he's got the tier in pocket also. The Outrage is also in a pretty comfortable spot in this game. Rex does finally tick over to level 6 here, finally, with access to that depth charge. But as we were just discussing, you know, the lead in this bot lane is not what it was just a few short minutes ago. In comes Zach once again. Excel potentially getting dove on here as the death charge comes into the Cataclysm. Azure Mega Death Rocket and so much damage. Excel surely will be going down here and does eventually get taken down by the Jarvan. It's Sapsweet desperately trying to get on top of this Jinx to trade back onto the enemy carry. They do manage to take down the J4. It's a beautiful headbutt pulverize onto 2 from Titan, but the Jinx, there's no damage to actually finish off this enemy carry. Sapsweet again connecting with the CC, but Merciful Crow is collapsed on the flank, able to take down the Alistar. The Zax can go into the passive, but Outrage has come over as well, trying to defend his jungler's blobs, but not able to do so. There were no teleports available for the side of the Ducks or anything like that. So the side of First Class, they do manage to win out on another fight towards this bot side, thanks to D-Nut being involved.
Yeah, good roam there from Merciful as well, helping to pick up a couple of more of those kills. But boy, crewman, real sloppy fight there, just not able to zone enough for D-Nut to let him free fire, and wasting a lot of time firing into Sapsweet, who with those bloblets can heal forever. There was a point there towards the middle of the fight, after that excited passive had worn off for Jinx, that he was laying shot after shot into Sapsweet, and Sapsweet was actually healing overall.
Yeah, it's pretty telling, right? When Jinx does manage to get the passive activated and then it wears off over the course of the same fight. Usually how that works is the Jinx gets excited and then remains excited and kills everybody before the excitement actually subsides. When that's not the case, definitely not a good sign for the Jinx's overall outlook on team fights, you know, moving forward in the game. So we'll have to see if the target selection is going to be able to improve a little bit for First Class Esports. They are going to be able to clean things up a little bit, but they did, of course, ultimately still win out in that fight, right? And it was the Jinx who managed to stay alive, as the arrow is immediately cleansed by DNut, as the side of the Big Ducks are trying to get on top of this Jinx, but the peel very good from this first-class front line. Sapsweet getting chunked down pretty low. I don't think he can heal enough, Alls. He gets taken down. The kill over to the Nautilus, and that second kill over to the Nico, as once again, first-class Esports winning out in the team fight.
Yeah, and Outrage has to get away from here. The dive could absolutely come in with 4 members here, running for his life. That's going to be another turret taken by DNut, now 2-0, although Axel is going to get one back in the bot side to even it out a little bit, and that gold, crewman, still so deadly even here. 14-12 at 15 minutes.
Yeah, it is definitely a close game is what we're looking at here for game number 1. It wasn't really looking that way after the first few minutes. It looked like maybe first class were going to be able to run away with it, but the Big Ducks have managed to come back into this one. They have lost out on the last couple of team fights. As in the first one down towards that bot side, Excel was taken down first, and then in the second one around the mid lane, Excel wasn't even there. You know, did manage to connect that enchanted crystal arrow from long range, but DNut with the cleanse available was immediately able to get out of that CC and turn the fight around. So, you know, the side of first class, I still feel like they're in a reasonably good position in this game, but they do need to, you know, as we've been talking about, play a little bit more diligently, you know, around their hyper carry here in the Jinx and make sure that DNut's going to continue to be set up for success.
Yeah, but on the other hand, crewman, isn't this what makes casting League of Legends so fun? When teams just say, forget meta, forget what's best, we want to do what's most fun.
Definitely, yeah. It is. It does make for some interesting casts. Absolutely. You know, we'll just say that.
Speaking of fun, 4-man dive onto Outrage here, who is very gone.
Yeah, he's in trouble. That's going to be the lockdown. Plucks the dragon out of the sky, and it will be the shutdown over to Merciful Crow on the Nico. Has been picking up a number of these last hits. Is getting now to be extremely strong in his own right. Going to be a nice secondary carry for the squad.
Yeah, and going to be good timing as well, as they're going to force BDE away from this Drake. It will come at the cost of the mid turret, likely, unless they can take down this Rift Herald before it charges, but still, great to get that vision, great to get that spacing, and they do take down the Rift Herald with a perfectly timed smite. That's great to see if you're an FCE fan.
Absolutely. Merciful Crow not able to connect on the Pop Blossom there, but as we can see, Narva with another charge on the Smite is coming off cooldown right now, so they can absolutely rotate down towards this Dragon. Look to secure their second of the game. It's looking like a Chemtech Soul on the Rift here for game number 1. Also, not the most important, but it's going to be the Big Ducks not willing to give this one away. Sapsweet into the pit, and it's going to be the Aurelion Soul ultimate that steals away the objective. DNut forced to get out of dodge as well. Does manage to get out some good damage from over the wall here, but the front line is going down extremely low. Vendetta chasing forward, takes down the Poppy. Now Sapsweet looking for DNut, but there's no follow-up for that Zac right now. As the sweet spot will land on the Q1 for Vendetta, but the Aatrox, who he does actually still have flash. They're thinking about going back in for this one, but it's risky. Now Titan is getting slowed down by the Zap DNut on a killing spree. And just a little bit of an overstep there for the Big Ducks. Another slow connects onto the Aatrox. He has the Mega Blast Cone there. Doesn't actually take it, as DNut's going to be the one to destroy that. Another Zap connects, but I think Vendetta's going to be able to make it out here. And Excel, at least able to get some quality time in that mid lane, does manage to take down the tier 1 in the end. But, you know, overall, I mean, I guess the side of the Big Ducks were able to secure the Dragon as well. Very chaotic sequence there once again, Alls. I mean, who do you think actually is ending up on top there?
Ooh, that's hard to say, crewman, because kills went every which direction. Merciful Crow, still unkilled, still enormous. Actually, the only player who has kept alive entirely in this game at 5-0 and 5. DNut at 2 fully completed items. Axel at 2 fully completed items. I mean, I think that one's a wash, crewman. But there is one player who won, and that is Titan. Because DNut could have been a major influence on that fight if they had been able to stay in free fire, protected inside the pit. Instead, Titan got in there and headbutted him over the back wall, so that DNut was forced to walk all the way around if he wanted to be a part of that fight. And that time, that extra 5 seconds before the ADC was really a part of it, is what gave BDE such a resounding victory before DNut picked up 2 on the back end.
That's pretty hilarious, actually. I missed that in live. I saw the D-Nut was over on the other side of the Drake Pit wall. I thought at first that the Jinx had like flashed over there to get away from some CC or something, but I saw that the flash was still there. I was very confused. So thanks for mentioning that, because I did actually completely miss that Titan had ejected the Jinx from the fight. Like, I think D-Nut was still able to get out a few autos over the wall onto the Alistar maybe after that ejection had come through, and was obviously eventually able to rejoin the fight, as a Sapsweet actually ended up taking the fight to the Jinx in what was, maybe a bit of an ill-advised maneuver, but
It's
yeah,
a zoning
definitely.
death. It's intentional.
I see. Yeah, well, in that case, mission accomplished for Sapsweet. And, the Jinx may be able to accomplish not as much as she otherwise would have if she'd been able to be in the thick of things the entire time. So we'll have to keep an eye on that going forward as well, of course. The Jinx's positioning in the fights and what she's able to get done. But the Deathless Nico is absolutely going to be needing to be kept track of by the side of the Big Ducks as well, as Merciful Crow has been having a pretty solid performance so far in this one. And they're on Baron. This is a T1 Baron attempt coming out from First Class Esports.
Zach's on the wrong side of the map.
Vision. Oh, yes, Sapsweet not in the area right now. And they're actually doing it so fast with this Fed Jinx.
Oh my gosh, it was stolen with the volley. No way, crewman.
God, man. So illegal! Oh my god, Titan's in the thick of things. Merciful Crow finds a decent pop blossom onto 2. The Aurelion Soul is going down extremely low. Narva going to be able to take down the enemy mid laner, but a shutdown onto the formerly Deathless Nico as well. There's D-Nut, the Mega Blast Cone, puts him in range of Excel, who manages to take down the Fed Jinx. It's a triple kill for the Big Duck AD carry. Another beautiful headbutt pulverized onto 2 from Titan as the quadra kill comes out. TLP, the last surviving member of First Class on the run, should be able to make it out of this one. Will not give over the pentakill, but oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. What?
My man. Junglers, I
can't defend that one. I'm a jungler apologist, but I can't defend that one.
Look. The last one, the one that was stolen at Drake, that one I'm willing to excuse. Zach smited at a great time, perfectly comboed with the Aurelion Soul ultimate on top.
Absolutely.
That one was beautiful. This one, it was a volley over the wall, crewman. You cannot miss that when you have a 1200 smite.
As the Axel, Baron Steel into quadra kill for Big Duck Entourage. That is going to put them in the driver's seat of this game. They do now have close to a 5k gold advantage, and they are going to be looking for their second Chemtech Dragon, third Dragon overall here in just a moment, although River Control currently held by First Class Esports. Dredgeline connecting on to Titan. Does have the Unbreakable Will here in just a moment. It's going to be coming off cooldown immediately. Going to cast that one. Beautiful Aurelion Soul over the wall. Gets out so much damage right at the start of this one. And oh man, First Class Esports were engaging onto an Alistar who had ultimates. Are they even going to get him? Oh my god, Titan's going to live. And once again, it's First Class Esports wiped off the map.
Well, crewman, Titan didn't have ultimate until about a second into that fight, so it was very nearly good timing, but do we see a steal? Narva is here. Narva has flag and drag. No flash.
Didn't have vision. Oh, he got vision from the flag. Q into the pit.
No.
Gonna go to the ace. Is either jungler going to secure a neutral objective at all this game, Holes? That's my question.
Well, given that dragon ended at 93 HP, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, it's looking pretty unlikely, as the smite spell. I saw a Reddit post the other day, actually, where somebody recommended the removal of smite from League of Legends, saying that it was, a main source of frustration for junglers and for their teammates. I don't really remember the full context of the post, but after watching this game, I think I might just be in agreement. Who needs smite anyway?
Yeah, I mean, there is the, wasn't it an Earth or Ultimate Spellbook, one of those, where instead of having smite, whichever player was designated as the jungler would just auto smite if they attacked a camp that was below the smite range.
Oh, that does feel, I mean, it takes all the skill out of it, right? But I don't know. I mean, that's an option, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, I think it's a great way to show skill is having those smites, but it's also absolutely brutal for 4 players whose fault it is not when you lose an objective because the jungler either just isn't timing it or is distracted or what have you and misses that smite.
We do have Sapsweet slingshotting himself into a wolf camp here. As Narva should have the EQ over the wall to get out of dodge. We'll be able to do so. And yeah, the impact of the mist smite is absolutely, not necessarily correlated to the amount of effort or, the skill of the team overall, right? The impact that, a mist smite can have on the game can feel very unfair at times, I think, which is, probably was, part of the context for that Reddit post I mentioned previously. It certainly is a good point you're making there, Alls. Is another engage coming out onto Narva, who just really would like to farm his jungle, if at all possible, but I don't think it's actually allowed, Narva. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Narva has been informed that he can wait until supers are in his base, or he can die. And Outrage is going to make sure he dies here, or at least goes down to half health from a single proc of that Dragon's Breath.
Just sort of impressing on Narva the seriousness of the situation. The fact that that was, in fact, his choice, I think, is what Outrage was going for there. And I think was able to accomplish that, as Jarvan did go back towards his base. As the side of the Big Ducks, they don't have their Baron buff anymore. They are sieging on towards this top tier 2 anyways, as we go to the top laner, scrapping a little bit towards the bottom side in the meantime. It's Nico on a little bit of a flank position here. Narva gonna have to EQ over the wall to get away once again.
Man, he just healed.
He did, yeah, and he will have to heal again now.
So miserable getting caught out like that, having to back or just accept that you're not gonna have health for a while. I am a little bit disappointed in BDE though. They had 3 minutes on that Baron and they didn't actually take anything. They've got enough pressure here that they'll be able to contest the next Baron fairly easily and not give FCE a chance at it, but boy, if it doesn't feel like they should have at least gotten more than one inner turret here.
Yeah, I hear you all. A lot of that Baron buff was, in the end, utilized during the dragon fight, that kind of happened almost immediately afterwards. As that is going to force the flash out from Excel. It's a nice dredge line from Rex, but now has ended up putting himself into a little bit of a precarious position as the star will fall down from the sky. And once again, the Big Duck Entourage looking to clean up the team fight. Merciful Crow underneath the tier 2, trying to make something happen, but just not able to get it done by himself. The tier 2 will fall, as will the entirety, nearly, of First Class Esports. Once again, TLP, the only survivor. And now we are doing some work on these structures, Ols.
Yeah, Baron buff says who. Just end the game after Baron falls, and with Vendetta TPing in and just TLP alive for another 10 seconds, this should be game, right?
Keeper's verdict? Only gets the Aatrox there. I think that is indeed going to be the game. I mean, they've got D-Nut in 5 seconds, but TLP, I don't think, can buy enough time. The Poppy will go down. The Nexus turret will follow. D-Nut is back, but the Nexus is exposed. Vendetta, though, low HP, forced back. Cataclysm comes down. Jinx going to get excited here momentarily, picks up the shutdown off the Aatrox, but the Jarvan gets traded back. Rex on the front line going for a little bit of CC, but Excel's going to take him down. Excel just needs to auto-attack the Nexus, and the game will end. Vendetta, or D-Nut, trying to make something happen, but he gets CC'd by the Zac. Once again, a double kill over to Excel. The Nexus will fall 28.5 minutes, and that's going to be the Big Ducks taking game number 1.
Well, crewman, that was a game of League of Legends right there.
It was indeed. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I don't know how to feel about that. Because after 5 minutes, First Class should have had that game in the bag. There was no reason for First Class to throw that game away. But full props to BDE for clawing victory from the jaws of defeat there.
What was the moment, do you think? Was there one moment? Was it a series of unfortunate events? What do you kind of think was was there like one turning point, or
I think
or maybe the first turning point?
Yeah, the point where it stopped being a free game was the point where First Class threw 3 different fights all across the map at the same time, and then threw another fight immediately after. The point where it went from, okay, we're back even, to this game is no longer winnable for us, was the Baron steal into the Quadra kill. That was the point where the wheels were too far off the bus.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was the sort of back-breaking moment, the Ashe volley Baron steal into the quadra kill. But even before that, it absolutely did feel like the big ducks were able to find themselves in positions where they shouldn't really have been allowed, right? Given the fact that Jinx was as fed as she was, given the fact that the side of the First Class Esports had as much map control as they did, it really did feel initially like the big duck entourage were going to be up against it in this first game. But as things progressed, we got towards that 15-minute mark. The steal on the second dragon by Outrage's A Soul. Sort of gradually the Ducks managed to chip away at that advantage until suddenly, they were the ones in control. And once that happened and the big Ducks had control over the game, it did feel like, they were able to end things very quickly.
Well, crewman, we are already behind schedule, so we don't want to sit here for too long. But one last thought. Player of the game.
Yes. As the one thing we do have to get to, it was Outrage just barely edging out his AD carry on the damage chart there, just shy of 27k on the Aurelion Soul. I do think it kind of has to go to one of the bot laners. It almost feels bad because the laning phase went so poorly for them, right? With the Jinx 5-0 so early on in this game. But I think they were sort of the biggest factor in eventually turning the game around as well. So I think personally, I would actually vote for Excel on the Ashe. I mean, it's not really a skill thing, being able to get the Baron with that W, but played the ensuing team fight out extremely well, and that's I think who I'd give it to.
I think that's fair. I think some shoutouts also need to be given to Outrage, who had a couple of incredible Aurelion Soul ults, even if the actual kills didn't go to him. But really, it was a great job by the entire BDE squad to buckle down and play this game out after a demoralizing first few minutes. But, crewman, I do believe it is time for us to step aside, get into game 2, and be right back with more BOL Plat action.
Sounds good.
aqueles que se perderam.
Hoje eles a chamam de exilada, no outro tempo defendeu com sua espada. Tantas injustiças hoje serão julgadas, de batalha seu corpo tão cheio de marcas, yeah, yeah. Como todo humano segue lutar de falhas, nessa guerra nunca deixe vibrando sua espada. Seguindo onde sua alma foi estressada, agora recolhe pedaços com consciência na amargurada. Essa faixa há muito tempo foi selada, ensinando no meu caminho, mexe cai passou bastante para decidir com variação de como pode ser usada. Nunca siga os passos nem minha levada, na estrada sua mente pode ser marcada. No rugido do andério, cortando na luta, o ganhando, aumentando a sequência de lacerações e golpes que vão sendo cronometrados pela minha espada e uma speed que é impossível de prever. E isso é um Musashi ganhando soco, corrido inigualável sob rune terra, enquanto a maldade insiste em permanecer. Eu vou achar você, quem me deu essas ordens fez eu me perder. Eles vão perecer, ela não vai ceder. Libere o poder da sua espada, ela nunca vai se curvar, por isso essa jornada, esse caminho ela trilhou. Guerreiros, porque aquele esmiuçou, em mim você nunca acreditou. E agora o jogo virou enviada em uma missão que ela não poderia mais completar. E agora recolhe os pedaços de sua honra, talvez ela queira voltar no tempo. E eu te disse aqui, que com aceleração na build cê não vai conseguir. Eu conto 1, 2, 3, o inimigo sumir. A espadachim é Kanabana, não tem pra nenhum master. Eles a chamam de exilada, no outro tempo defendeu com sua espada. Tantas injustiças hoje serão julgadas, de batalha seu corpo tão cheio de marcas, yeah, yeah. Na ultimate o vento corre pela ameaça, pago torre, tendo um monstro que Noxus criou. Meu rei te alcançou, sei que tu cansou e tu se superou. Top que garou, yeah. Caçando heróis só por diversão, o verdadeiro poder não vem vão. Ouça a inspiração, a Demon Slayer eles vão enfrentar. Getsuga neles e os céus eu vou rasgar. Não tem escapatória aqui, asas quebradas vão ressurgir. A chamam de exilada, noutro tempo os defendeu com sua espada. Tantas injustiças hoje serão julgadas, de batalha seu corpo tão cheio de marcas, yeah, yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back to week number 5 of the BOL Plat League. Our coverage continuing here with the best of 3 between the Big Duck Entourage and First Class Esports. Big Ducks going to be on blue side for the second game after taking the victory in game number 1. First Class Esports going to try their hand at the red side, see what kind of adaptations we're going to see here in this drafting phase.
Yeah, I don't think draft was the issue for First Class. I think it was just an execution diff. So I don't necessarily know that they need to change anything unless they want to take away some of those comfort picks, perhaps taking away the Asol or the Ashe if they think it absolutely necessary. But no, they're sticking to their first game bans here, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree. Draft didn't feel like it was the problem for them in that first game whatsoever. The Jinx is going to get banned away by the Ducks, so we're not going to be seeing First Class able to pick that one up again. Ari first pick. So this is something that was banned away by the Ducks on red side in the previous game. Now that they're on blue side, they're happy to see it left open. They're going to scoop that one up right away.
Now, don't get me wrong, Ari is strong, but blinding it B1 here is an aggressive choice. I'm very curious to see if FCE has a counter up their sleeve, because there are some out there, despite the fact that Ari is very strong right now.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, Outrage is their new player on the roster as well, right? And formerly a top laner when he was playing in the NWL, actually, was Outrage. So it kind of begs the question, how big is that mid lane champion pool, actually? Maybe the Ari is really just, like, far and away his best comfort in the mid lane. The Aurelion Sol last game looked good, did have some great ultimates, as you mentioned, but we'll see. Maybe the Ari is going to really impress us, perhaps, as the Nautilus is going to get locked away once again here for First Class. We're going to be piloting that one once again alongside the Varus this time around.
Yeah, Varus has been seeing a ton of play as well, is quite powerful in those team fights, but he fits into one or two niches, and I'm very curious where First Class is going to take, because you can go for that poke build, the lethality build, where you're just looking to hit one button, that W button, and shred through a single player on the enemy team, or perhaps a couple of squishies. Or you can go for that lethal tempo build and be an auto-attacking machine when your passive kicks in team fights, almost in the way of being a discount Jinx. So I'm curious to see how they build it, especially into the Ashe lock-in from BDE once again.
Yeah, the Varus auto attack range, of course, just not quite as high as the Jinx, why she's generally finds herself a little bit higher on the tier list. Excel is going to go for the Ashe once again here. The Amumu going to get locked in alongside. Could be either a jungle or a support Amumu. Can't really be too sure just yet. But yeah, the Varus build's very interesting. I am looking at the stats here. It does look like Varus actually is the most played for DNUT. 26 games, only 46% win rate, though. So, take any solo queue stats with a grain of salt, but that is, potentially slightly worrying, as the Aatrox is going to get locked away once again for First Class Esports here as well. There's going to be top laner there, Vendetta, wanting to go back towards that.
Yeah, and...
no, Vendetta was... Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Blinding the Aatrox isn't fun, necessarily, because he has champions that can counter him, but in this case, unlike with the Ahri, which FCE chose not to respond to, they can ban away the counters to Aatrox here, and they've done just that with the Malphite and Volibear being taken off the table. This pinches the pool for BDE and makes it a whole lot harder to respond, but the Poppy's still up if they want to just go ahead, slam that, and take that in the top lane once again. They didn't seem to have any issue with that matchup before.
Very true, very true. It was, of course, previously, it was the Poppy actually... Yeah, it was the Poppy on for First Class when they were on blue side, and Vendetta, the big duck top laner, was playing the Aatrox previously. So Aatrox kind of a pick away here, honestly, for First Class. So we can deny that one, and now they will go for the Zoe into the Ahri. What do you think about that matchup, Balls? Zoe into Ahri?
It's not too bad. Zoe's one of those champions that can actually keep her distance from Ahri, give you plenty of time to react to that first Spirit Rush. But by the same token, we don't see a ton of Zoe played anymore. And there's kind of a reason for that. Mid lane right now favors the champions, in general, who can get out sustained damage over a period of time, not so much the pick champions. Zoe falls squarely into that second camp, and looking at this BDE team, if that first Sleepy Trouble Bubble doesn't pick off the Ashe, or even if it does, you're facing into an Ahri, you're facing into an Urgot, that's plenty of damage on the back end to still tear up FCE with what will become a relatively useless mid laner until those cooldowns cycle.
Yeah, definitely the case. Zoe, a couple of other weaknesses as well. It's not very strong in the side lane, if you're playing front-to-back team fight, doesn't really contribute much there either. That kind of, pairs along with the lack of sustained damage points that you were just making for us. But looking at the rest of the draft here, as we do have things filled out, the Leona locked in for the side of the Ducks does confirm Amumu in the jungle position, and they're going to go for the Darius into the Aatrox, which I have to feel is a pretty favorable matchup for the Darius there. And then the Xinjiao going to locked away here on R5. A little bit unusual to see jungle dropped all the way down to the R5 there, but obviously, Big Ducks going for their mid lane lock-in so early, and the side of First Class wanting to pick away that Aatrox. It'd kind of just work out that way this time around. Jin Zhao here, I do enjoy playing him myself. This doesn't feel like a great angle for the Jin Zhao. He does obviously is going to provide First Class with some pressure in the early game, as a great early duelist. But as far as gank angles, you don't really want to gank Darius. Like, it can work, and Aatrox does have good follow-up. It can be really dangerous. If the Darius does manage to outplay and gets the big heal from hitting two people with the Q sweet spot, he's also just another one of those champions that's really strong in the early game, right? So,
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, it can work, the Jin Zhao ganks towards Darius, but it's risky.
Yeah, I'm more interested, though, in the Jin Zhao counter ganks, especially towards this bot lane. Last game, the Alistar was here for BDE. Yeah, it's a champion that can't get away, but you also have a lot of options for knocking FCE away from your ADC. Leona doesn't have that. First off, when she goes in, she's in, same as Alistar, but she also doesn't have a way to remove FCE from Ashe's face. So once they step up past that midpoint line in the river, there's really no way for them to get out short of fighting through the Xinjiao.
Yeah, certainly. We'll see. Both sides really going to be wanting to get that initiation, right? Both sides looking to start these fights first. If it's their opponents who are able to do so, they're not necessarily going to be in a great spot. We'll see if the side of first class are going to be able to get on top of that Ash's face or not. As you so elegantly phrase it for us all.
Hey, I'm the king of the good words, you know?
Oh yes. That's why we keep you around. And also because you're a producer, which can be hard to come by in the amateur space.
Yeah, no kidding.
But leaving that aside, it does feel like, once again, I feel like similar to last game, these drafts are kind of trying to do very similar things, right? They have a lot of frontline, they have a lot of engage, and they're looking to play for these team fights. The question is, last game, it was the Big Ducks who were just playing those team fights a little bit better. Not really anything to do with the compositions, just kind of clicking their buttons better. So, that being said, does First Class have enough tools at their disposal this time around to maybe change the equation a bit?
Well, I mean, it's going to be hard, crewman. They've definitely got a lot of arrows in the quiver with Varus, with Nautilus, with the Aatrox, but I'm still drawn back to that mid lane, to that Zoe. It doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like a team that wants a pick comp, and perhaps that's what they go for. Perhaps they go for the lethality Varus and just focus on removing members from BDE so that they can take the odd-numbered team fights, but it's not really how they played it last game. They played a lot of dogpile League of Legends, so they'll have to really change their mentality if they want to go through with that here.
I think that's absolutely right. If they do decide to go towards that sort of pokey style, then I am a little bit, concerned in that regard as well. It doesn't really feel like they have great targets to try and hit their poke onto, Ashe is going to be pretty vulnerable, but Leona and Amumu are both going to be extremely tanky. Ahri is extremely mobile, right? Good at dodging away from that poke. So, we'll see, but it does feel, especially after losing out in game number 1, that going towards that style is a pretty risky bet to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you think, though? If you had to take nameplates off here, who wins this game? If 5 perfect members on each side are playing this.
No nameplates, huh?
No nameplates. Assume Faker is playing all 5 champs.
all 10 champs in the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I do like to see a First Class in some respects are sticking to their guns, right? They've got Nautilus once again. They've kind of got a somewhat of a similar strategy going on here with the draft. The Zoe, as you were discussing for us, definitely standing out a little bit, but maybe that is just a comfort pick as well. I haven't actually looked at the stats yet, but that could be the case. I just feel that, I know we're having this discussion without nameplates, but, even without the nameplates, I feel like the Big Duck Entourage composition is probably just a little bit easier to execute on. I feel like the front line is just going to be a little bit beefier, right? They're going to be able to be a little bit sturdier. The hyper carries, I think, on the side of the Big Ducks may not necessarily be as threatening in like an even game state, but if you can get Ahri and Ashe ahead, then that's definitely all you need. So I think I'd give it to their draft over here on the blue side. It feels like they are just a little bit more well-rounded in terms of their team fighting capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, I do tend to agree. Any final thoughts here, crewman, before we head into break awaiting this second game?
Not really, alls. I mean, I can only hope that we have another barn burner of a game like we had in game number 1. First Class Esports, they have still only managed, as I previously mentioned, to gain that one individual game win so far this season, all the way back in week 2. It has been a very tough go of it. The Big Ducks, on the other hand, they also have been really, really struggling this season. Their only game wins coming all the way back in week 1. And there was actually no gameplay that happened there, alls. As you may recall, that was actually a match win via FF, as AIE Anguish didn't end up making it onto the Rift for that first week. So the Big Ducks able to get actually take down their first Nexus of the season in that game one, riding that momentum. You have to imagine that they're feeling pretty fantastic after the way that game did end up working out. But, as we also mentioned, is kind of a must-win for First Class. Are they first in class? Or will they be last to pass? Don't go anywhere, guys. We're about to find out. All right, guys, here we go onto the Rift once again for our second game of the night. Big Ducks over to the blue side this time around. First Class Esports on the red. A little bit of some more interesting picks here, let's say, for their side. Really wanting to pick up this win, especially how the way game one ended up going. They had that big lead in the early game, weren't able to hang on to it. Definitely that one is going to sting. They're going to want to do everything in their power to try to at least get one game win tonight against some of their closest competition in the standings, right, Ols?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're at the point here, as we mentioned at top of cast, crewman, where you drop this series, especially if you're FCE, and the rest of this season starts just being for yourself. It just starts being about improvement because they are so unlikely to reach the playoffs at this point unless they win this game that they won't really have anything to play for except for pride. And that's a difficult situation to be in for a team that's been beaten down all season. So they desperately need a win here to kind of get that momentum back in their pockets.
Yeah, certainly things not been going the way that they would like. And we'll see if they're going to be able to manage to turn things around here. It's nothing too unusual jumping out in terms of the Runes and Summoner spells. I do think that Narva going for the Conqueror on the change out is the right call in this instance. I'd like to see, a more bruisery build, lots of health stacking as well. I think would be great, just to provide as much front line as possible, create as much space as possible. See if D-Nut can carry through this time around. Yes. It does look like it's going to be that on-hit Varus, potentially.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what concerns me the most out of these Runes and Masteries all across the board, is Vendetta just going hard in the paint here. Might have it. No, there's not enough tick. I think he's dead.
The health potion. The health potion is going to keep the Aatrox alive. Oof. Yeah, it was very close. If he didn't have the potion, that was 100% a dead Aatrox.
Yeah, that great play by Vendetta using that early game of the Darius to perfection. Gonna crash a huge wave here as well. Forces the TP out of TLP with nothing to show for it except for 2 health pots. That feels real awful if you're the Aatrox. But I want to return to D-Nut here because this concerns me. The fact that this is the on-hit attack speed kind of Varus, because that tells me they're going to be this split-focus team, that they're going to have the Zoe looking to get pokes and picks, and they're going to have the Varus looking to take team fights and go full in. And I don't like that. I don't think that that goes very well in a game that has been, especially this season, so focused on the team fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point, Alls. It does feel a little bit anti-synergistic, between those two champions in particular, the way they're going to be wanting to play things out. But at the same time, it's also something that we've discussed at great length, right? The fact that comfort is so important at this level of play. And, Merciful Crow does have quite a lot of mastery on the Zoes. That clearly was the call for this player. Outrage is a very strong laner, as TLP is going to get apprehended once again towards this top side. Vendetta, of course, playing the Aatrox in the previous game, clearly knows the weaknesses of the champion as well, and is doing a great job of punishing so far.
Yeah, and good roam by the entirety of BDE there into the bot river to protect that Scuttler. Going to likely be a double scuttle for Sapsweet here, assuming he rotates up towards that top side.
Yeah, it was really interesting pathing for the Big Duck Jungler. Oh, that's the flash. Notorious, just really worried about that bleed getting stacked up once again, showing a lot of respect now towards Vendetta, but I think that wave might actually be pushing away from the Aatrox. I'm not entirely sure. Yes, it is.
Yes, very much so.
This is so this is so scary now for TLP. His jungler is going to move back up towards this top side of the map. Will he be in time?
I think so. I think Vendetta's not going to push it here with this many minions. We're at that point in the game where minion damage still kind of matters. So it's a little bit dangerous here.
Just going to amount to a CS lead for the Darius, most likely. So that is going to be the trouble bubble landing, but Outrage able to trade back a little bit.
Oh no, here comes the Ghost. He's going in.
Vendetta, I had a feeling that this might happen. Darius is so strong early, and the Jin Zhao is not going to be here at all. He's not on the way. He's not going to be helping out his top laner, and Vendetta cuts him down. First blood for the BDE top side.
Felt like an inevitability that that kill was going to come before laning phase fell. But again, this is so miserable. That wave's going to crash. You can see it there in the top side. More minions piling into this turret that won't go into TLP's pocket.
Yes.
No TP available. Darius is just in such a huge spot here. Going to be able to completely dominate this lane.
Yeah, it's a pretty monstrous advantage. Although we did see, we have seen in this exact match alls huge laning advantages that didn't necessarily correlate to game outcomes. So still playing here in game 2. Not going to call it just yet. As nice movement over from First Class Esports down towards this bot side. They will be able to secure the first dragon. So once again, we're going to see a trade of these neutrals.
Yeah, I do want to call out another lane that has been completely dominant that we haven't called attention to, which is the bot lane. Axel down 15 CS already.
Yeah, definitely pretty significant. This is going to be the first base of the game coming through for the, excuse me, the First Class bot duo. Let's see what Varus D-Nut's going to be able to pick up with that CS lead he's managed to accrue.
Goes for the grab bag here, crewman. Doesn't want to get any individual items, but that's extra sustain. That means that the already fairly limited poke from Ashe is going to be even more valueless here.
Yeah, looking like potentially a Blade of the Ruined King start for the Varus, I think, with those basic items picked up. Well, how would you feel about that choice, given what he's playing against here?
It's a fine pick, given that you're already going for the on-hit attack speed build. We're gonna have to put that aside as TLP is forced to run away again.
Yeah, is going to be able to do so, right? Is able to run fast enough with the World Ender, but that is all that the Aatrox can do at this point. Oh, Sapsweet even looking to make the Amumu's presence felt towards this top side. Doesn't have the ultimate yet, but Aatrox showing respect here. Not going to walk up, but this does mean that TLB is going to fall even further behind in CS. This Rex looking for a play towards the mid lane. Outrage is going to get hit by the Dredge line. Does have the Spirit Rush available, though. Wanting to actually hold on to it if possible. Merciful Crow is moving up, and yeah, the Spirit Rush will eventually come out. So Outrage knew that there was a big risk of a Trouble Bubble connecting there, and then you're going to have to use the Spirit Rush and take a big chunk of your health bar, as that's a Bandage Toss landing, and TLP is just going to get absolutely chopped in half once again here. Narva was in the area, but once again, just a little bit too late to the play.
Yeah, Dunkmaster Darius trying out for the Harlem Globetrotters there, up so badly against this Aatrox now. About 4 kills effectively with that CS lead as well. Crewman, that feels real bad. Especially knowing how long Sapsweet sat there just to make sure that this top laner had more and still ahead.
Excel gonna have to flash away here as D-Nut was threatening the Chain of Corruption. The Chain of Crystal Arrow is gonna come out now. That's gonna force the cleanse, and the Chain of Corruption is gonna go completely wide as Excel able to sidestep that one with the Ghost, and now the Ashe has the movement speed, looking to run down this enemy bot duel. The one part of the map that was winning for First Class Esports might not be any longer. Here comes Merciful Crow, though. Battlestar only connecting onto the Leona's not gonna go down. Flashing forward is the Zoe, looking for the Battlestar, not quite enough range to connect onto Excel, and Merciful Crow roaming down using the summoner spells, can't get anything done. Plates going over to the RE in mid lane.
Real unfortunate there by Merciful. Good roam, you know, trying to do something, salvage a bad fight there, but unable to get anything, unable to finish the job. And Axel, skin of his teeth there, I swear he felt that Battlestar dissolve against the back of his heels.
It was close. It was definitely close for the Crow there. Almost able to connect that one onto the Ashe, but just didn't quite have the range. And that is going to be, I mean, as the timing was,
by
was
TLP.
very, yeah, I think he's close enough to the turret to survive this time around. Yeah, he's also full HP at the moment. That could, of course, change in the near future, but Aatrox going to be okay for now. And he does actually also have quite a lot of friends in the area. This wave pushing away from Vendetta, but he does have that nice ward in the river that's going to spot out the Goon squad that was coming for him. That's a different team, sorry, but you get what I mean.
Same thing. Axel not quite able to get this turret plate, so good job on the roam there by Rex. Should protect Narva enough as well to pick up these 4th, 5th, and 6th grubs. Keep those Twitch shadows from spawning, but yeah, fight coming out.
In. Unfortunately, they don't have Excel to actually secure the objective, but they're going to go for the team fight as Rex is getting chunked down very low. Once again, the Nautilus lagging behind in experience was still only level 5, and is just going to immediately get destroyed as the arrow hits onto the Aatrox across the map. TLP really just cannot catch a break this game at all.
Man, Crewman, I mean, first off, come on, you can't flame Narva like that. That was uncalled for.
I mean, was it?
Okay, it was fair, but boy, brutal at the start of that fight.
I'm a jungler, so I can say these things.
Okay,
that's
okay.
How it works.
All jokes aside there, good response by BDE, sending 4 members up there. It looked like FC
Here comes level 5 Nautilus.
Yeah.
Once again, not going to find the dredge line, though. Go ahead with that point you were making, Ols.
Go home. Get depth charge. See, you got it. You leached enough XP.
There it is.
Now you can gank. That's how this world works.
Yeah, I think it is going to look a lot better for the Nautilus now that he does have that ability available. And honestly, if that gank was just timed for that moment right there, where the Sleepy Trouble Bubble had landed and the Nautilus had level 6, could have looked a lot better for him. Unfortunately, that is not the world that we live in, as the bot duo of the Ducks with Control able to move up into the river here. Sapsweet going to clear out the vision in the pit. Scuttle Crab going to go over, and looking like the first dragon of the game for BDE.
Yeah, good control once again. Rex spending so much time roaming means that there's not any pressure down there on the bot side. Axel and Titan can push it out, can take control, can roam to support their jungler. I appreciate what what Rex is doing here, but you need to have the levels. You need to be aware of where your power spikes are, and in his haste to make things happen, he has forgotten that.
Oh, an apprehend, but Aatrox does have his flash back up now, so this should not be a kill. It is going to be about half of the health bar, though.
Yeah, good trade there, and just means that the next time that wave is pushed out, Vendetta has kill threat. It's very easy for him to bring Aatrox down to that level at this point.
Very easy indeed. That's trouble landing. Good block there from the Amumu. You love to see it.
Good team synergy. Gotta protect your laners.
Absolutely. So, you know, Outrage, new arrival to the team, right? But already we can see that synergy being built up in real time. It's fantastic. Charm lands.
Merciful.
Double bubble dodge. Spirit rush in. Outrage thinking about committing underneath the turret there, but just a little bit too risky. Doesn't want to go 1-for-1. And Merciful Crow will actually be able to hang on to the flash there as well. So just a Spirit Rush used.
Yeah, that could have been so much worse for Crow there, though. If the second half of that Orb of Deception connects, that is a kill. As TLP just dies here, right?
No! Under the turret for it. Vendetta didn't get off the last auto attack. He does get the heal from the Q, though. Wind strikes, it becomes lightning. The W, the Q coming back off. Cooldown for the Darius, not quite in time. And Narva gets the maxed out shutdown. First kill of the game for First Class.
That was a really unfortunate auto cancel into the turret, but Rex is dead already.
Oh, yes, that Nautilus is very, very dead. Sapsuit underneath the turret. Good solar flare to stun D-Nut, but it's not the CC, not long enough to buy enough time for the Amumu to get out to safety. Sapsuit's going to get traded for the enemy support, but D-Nut too low to stick around underneath the turret. It does have his mid laner coming over. That is going to be a kill on Outrage as Merciful Crow spots out the enemy mid laner sitting on a ward, lands the CC, takes him down. Merciful Crow picking up another kill. His First Class starting to come alive in this game number 2, Ols.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there by Outrage as well. Saw the Trouble Bubble come in, actually canceled the recall, but didn't flash away. Forgot that that Trouble Bubble expands when it breaks down onto the ground there, crewman, and that's what sealed his fate.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder if Outrage was actually just looking at the bottom lane. Because clearly was moving down there to try and go for a play, right? But was sitting on a ward. And, you know, whatever the case may have been, did not react in time to that Zoe E coming out and is going to be punished for it. That is Luden's completed now for Crow in the mid lane. Now we're going to be able to secure Shelly as well. Another neutral going over to First Class. They are down a couple of K right now. So Narva's going to flash over the wall, try and get away from this Ahri. Will be able to do so, but Outrage happy to trade those cooldowns.
Yeah, that Spirit Rush does not take long at all to tick back into existence. Only a 70-second cooldown at this point. That's basically free if you're a mid laner.
Yeah, I mean, the Malignance as well just does okay. Dredgeline connects in the bottom lane. Excel going down extremely low. The Piercing Arrow already used the Ignite. Burning down, though, will be enough to finish off the Ashe as the kill goes over to Rex, and now the hook comes in, brings back the Leona. It's a double kill for the very bloodthirsty Nautilus.
Man, bad dog. Can't be taking your ADC's kills like that.
Just call him a dog?
I mean, yeah, Rex, you
I
know?
was being DM earlier.
Nah,
Okay.
Yeah. It's the most common dog name in America, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Sure. Yeah,
Actually,
fair
Fido
enough.
might be the first place, but point stands.
I have not made it a point to keep track of, the popular dog names, but I believe you. I'll give it to you on this one. But regardless, I mean, that's a great look for the First Class bot duo, right? I mean, they were sort of the one strong point on the map for the squad in the early game, and it's great to see them still being able to put on that pressure. And the Trouble Bubble is going to land. Nice back step to get away from the charm. Good damage onto Outrage's Ahri, who doesn't quite have the Spirit Rush available again just yet. We'll have it very soon, though.
Yeah, looking for it. However, there are plenty of members of BDE in the area, so Merciful can't overextend looking for this one.
Another Trouble Bubble almost landing there on the Ashe. And Excel is sandwiched between a rock and a hard place here. Is going to have to walk over the bubble in the end. Just had nowhere out there. If he walked left, he's going to get cut off by Dino Zveres. If he walked right, he gets put to sleep by the bubble. Titan, there was nothing that the Leona could do to help out the AD carry there. And now Shelly's going to get this charge into the tier 1. Minion wave should be cleared out. They're actually looking for the re-engage onto the Jinzhao on the back end here. The Charm's not going to land, but the Crescent Guard will be forced out anyways. And I think the tier 1 in the mid lane will survive there. Tier 1 in the top lane, not so lucky. And Vendetta is coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, nice slam there. 5-1-0 now. Darius is a big boy. He is very threatening with a 60 CS lead at this point.
Very large, yes. I think as the Big Duck Entourage, you should be content with that. It's like, guys, our Darius, massive, getting a tier 2 for free right now. Maybe let's just give over the dragon, because we don't have to risk a 4v4 here, but they're going to do it anyway, as D-Nut is forced to cleanse and flash away immediately as a beautiful flank from Sapsuit to try and lock down the enemy marksman. They will be able to get on top of him and take him down in the end. The Amumu is going to get traded back there, but this is surely going to be a team fight win for the Big Ducks. They're winning out now all over the map, and it's a good thing that they didn't listen to me, because now every single lane, every single position is going in their favor.
Yeah, Axel pretty much untouched on the top half of that fight, largely because D-Nut was being so perfectly zoned away by Sapsweet and Titan there. There wasn't any damage there to take down D-Nut, which is why it took him approximately a full year to die, but it was still enough. It kept the focus of FCE Split and allowed Axel to just pincushion everybody else. And you can see, even now, sitting at over 2/3 health before that Honey Fruit, that's not the way to end this fight. You need the ADC dead before anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely right, Alls. It was Sapsweet setting that one up with the Amumu. Got on top of the Varus right at the start there, and we also saw coming into play sort of some of the draft concerns that you had about this first-class composition, right? The fact that Varus wasn't really able to participate in that fight as much as he would like to, meant that the consistent damage for first-class esports just wasn't there at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was an even numbers fight. And in a team like this, we mentioned the Zoe wants to make sure that they're never taking those fights. They need to get kills first. They need to get the trouble bubbles out and find those pops, but just haven't been successful in doing so before these major objectives. As Sapsweet
does not have Hex Flash. So that was just a flash. Okay. And Rex is like, here, I feel bad for you, man. Let me let you connect at least one. It was a bait. Excel's getting CC'd, hooked in, taken down. D-Nut picking up number 2. Now Sapsweet in trouble. No flash, remember. On the Amumu, he's going to get taken down as well. That kill over to Narva, number 3 for the Qin Zhao. Outrage, one more. Charge on the spear, rush, eats the turret shot.
What is this game, crewman?
Oh, this is League of Legends, my friend.
Oh, by the way, in the top lane, TLP's pushed into inhib, because why not?
Yeah, well, that's, to be expected. Par for the course up there.
Man, I don't even know where to start with that. I guess we start at the beginning. Sapsweet just kind of mentally lags for half a second, because D-Nut, was in a great place to be flashed engaged on about a full second before he flashed over that wall, but by the time the flash was connected, D-Nut was already standing in the topside river. He was
I
far
did
away.
notice that as well. Yeah, timing not there for the Amumu. Maybe just a little bit too emboldened by his previous success in the last team fight, right? Thought that the bandage tosses was a point and click, right? Is kind of the way that it looked there. Thought that was going to be guaranteed, but was not the case. And the Amumu, as well as his AD carry, were both heavily punished for going for that attempt. And then, of course, we did see the shenanigans between the mid laners and the bot lane as well. Overall, a good sequence for first class. If we just pretend top lane doesn't exist, they're coming back into this one as Rex is going to hook a wall.
Yeah, it's a Portal combat here, but there are so many members around. This could very well devolve into a full-on fracas if they decide to pull the trigger. So instead, everyone just shakes hands, says, let's go home, and Vendetta takes a turret in the bot side because why not? He's not going to be stopped.
He loves doing that, killing turrets. It's pretty much second only to killing Aatroxes. That might actually be his favorite thing. Turrets, though, a close second. He's going to be able to find a turret down there. No Aatrox in the vicinity at the moment, but he is making his way down to potentially be a victim once again.
Yeah, that damage to objectives chart is going to be immaculate for Vendetta in the post-game here. Looking forward to it, and in fact is pretty close to a Flame Horizon as well. Nearly 200 CS, furthest in the game, just because he sat in these side waves. Hasn't been a part of any team fights at all, but it has not mattered.
Yeah, I mean, we should mention, D-Nut has a pretty massive CS advantage in that AD carry matchup as well. About 50 CS right now for the Varus. Half of a Flame Horizon. Or is that a Flame, or a Spark Horizon? Or like an Ember Horizon? How does that work? What's the name for the...
That's a good question.
We'll have to mull that one over, guys. We're going to continue
yeah.
thinking on that one. But
Can we get a poll up in chat, actually?
Like, oh, that would be fantastic, yeah.
Pop-Tart, I know you're out there. I know you're listening to me.
Yeah, if we could make that happen, it would be very informative, I think, as we are going to have another Mountain Dragon spawning in less than a minute here. So as far as gameplay is concerned, that is the next thing to look out for.
Very dangerous here for Axel with Titan recalling. Don't want to get caught out right before this Drake, because death timers are starting to get up to that point where if you die right now, you do not come back until after the Drake is already off the map.
Absolutely. The team's going to need to very carefully try to secure positioning, control over the area. So we do see the Ducks moving in. Outrage. Spear rush forward, connects the charm on D-Nut, who's almost a he's one shot at the start of the fight. In comes the Aatrox. They managed to take down the Ahri, who did initiate extremely aggressively, but with D-Nut down already, there's just no hope. There's nothing First Class can do. Zoe's going to toss out a half-hearted bubble. There's nothing more she can contribute, and this will be Mountain Soul Point on top for the Ducks.
Yeah, and that was with Axel just standing still in that gate opening after the initial start of that fight. He didn't auto-attack, he didn't do anything, and they still won with a 4-for-1. Vendetta finally a part of these team fights, so massive. Sapsweet, such a great disruptor on the front side, and Outrage with the awareness to just say, screw it, we're going in, I will make sure that D-Nut does not get to exist. Again, it comes back to what we said in this pregame, in the draft, of without the Varus, they don't have damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit upsetting for me, though, Alls, because I feel like, yes, that is true, but at the same time, they do have a decent number of tools where it feels like they should be able to keep the Varus safe, or at least for a little while, at least for him to get out a few auto attacks, right?
You would
Apparently
certainly think so, especially because you have the pick champion. You have Zoe, the champion who can pick you from across the map if the walls are in the right spot. But they're just not managing to find the angles, and Outrage is just playing out of his mind with some of these engages.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that's where the credit does have to go, as that is going to be another flash from both top laners. So Notorious TLP doesn't have to feel as bad about that one. Vendetta did expend it as well. That's a 3-level advantage, though, for the Darius. This is not getting better in the side lane anytime soon. As, what were we talking about?
The 2-item advantage that Vendetta has as well. I think that's kind of important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that is, also obviously very relevant. Oh, yes, Outrage initiating that last fight. I think that is absolutely worth mentioning,
Rex.
I guess, again, as, oh, dear, yeah, that is very troubling for Rex. He is going to get CC'd. Permanent. That charm is not going to land. Right as we were singing his praises, Outrage going to completely whiff that one, but the Crystal Arrow will connect, and that should be a dead Nautilus. Chain of Corruption is getting some decent value here, but Sapsweet has gone in, and so has Vendetta has managed to move over from his activity, split pushing in the bottom lane, and look at that damage. Xin Zhao going to bleed out on the back end here. And Zoe's going to get taken down as well. Outrage over the wall, looking for the charm redemption. Oh, is he going to find it? Aatrox! Oh, no. Outrage is going to have to look for redemption again in about 40 seconds.
Yo, dog, I heard you like CC. That was...
I love CC. Yeah, it's great.
Every CC ability chucked into Rex at the start of that fight. And BDE still overwhelmingly won the entire engagement. That's how far ahead they are. That they can blow everything on a support. Leona ult, Ashe ult, everything out of the Amumu short of the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and still win handily.
Yeah, I mean, the gold lead was already pretty significant before that last fight occurred. It is obviously now more significant, up to about 8K now in favor of the Ducks. Looking for the clean 2-0 tonight. They're technically second of the season, but I think the first that they will have actually earned.
The first non-FF 2-0 of the season. It's worth a whole lot more points in BOL standings as well, so very important.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that is an important qualification or distinction there. Something important to remember is the point system is what we use here to determine the standings. This is not actually just based on your game or match score, as there's a variable number of points depending on any kind of possible outcome you could have in your best of 3. But yeah, this is going to be the maximum number of points that you can get, obviously, is the 2-0 victory, which is what the Big Duck Entourage are closing in on very rapidly.
Yeah, especially even more rapidly as Vendetta has a lead weight on the accelerator here, just constantly pressuring in the side lane, drawing 3 people over to him, crewman. Well,
yeah, I mean, I don't think 3 people is even actually enough to threaten the Darius at this point. They are going to have to bring more if they want to actually do something about this man's activities in the side lane. They should be able to slow him down at the very least. He's not going to be able to fight 3 people underneath their turret.
Yeah, but the turret is gone. He killed that turret.
Yeah. Well, they have another turret in front of the inhibitor there, so they can hide behind that one now. As DLP is not, it's not the same story for the red side top laner here. Is 1v2, and he is struggling, but is going to be able to farm out or clear out some of this minion wave. Double cannon stacked up there, doing some good damage on the top lane inhibitor turret.
How did Narva get here?
That's a great question, and I do not have the answer.
I just looked down at the minimap, and Narva is suddenly in Krug Pit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. So, I mean, honestly, I kind of liked that position for the Qin Zhao. This is going to be Mountain Soul in 15 seconds. So, I mean, yes, the game is probably already over, and it probably doesn't actually matter too much. But I think once the Mountain Soul goes over, then you really can't play anymore, right? Then the Zoe stops being able to do anything, because you don't have that one-shot threat anymore when everybody on the enemy team has a Mountain Soul shield and extra resistances. As we are going to be starting off a fight in the mid lane here, and First Class really should just be running away, I would think. They are going to be able to get some burst damage down into the Darius, but it's not enough to take him down before the Qin Zhao will also fall. They do get the big raid boss, though. The Darius does eventually go down. The Aatrox does have to be traded back, and now the rest of the squad has arrived for the Ducks as the Nautilus can go down for a double kill. The flash for the Charm, and Outrage has managed to find that redemption in the end. D-Nut, the second to last. Merciful Crow going to be the last casualty of this fight. It's another triple kill for Excel, ending this series just the way it began.
And both times here, crewmen, these games have been so bloody, but consistently BDE has had the better side of fights. They have made less mistakes, and when they have made mistakes, they have recovered from them with grace. Something FCE definitely needs to work on here, but they have another half of the season to do so. It's just pride left on the line for them, so plenty of time to treat these like scrims and improve for next season.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate blow for First Class Esports. This all but rules them out of playoff contention, but a fantastic win for the Big Ducks, right? They brought in this new player, Outrage, a former champion in some other leagues, right? And while I don't know if Outrage was necessarily the clear POG in tonight's best of 3, I think he definitely had a positive impact, a positive influence on the team overall, and really helped them in some critical moments to accelerate the game and secure the 2-0.
Yeah, certainly feels that way. Was a very powerful force coming out of that mid lane, and as you said, a role that he doesn't normally play, or didn't play the last time we saw him in the Nameless Wanderer League, but looked fairly comfortable there on the Aurelion Soul, and although he had some struggles on the Ahri, a couple of plays where he went a little too deep, still came out well, made some very important picks, and helped guide this team to a victory here tonight.
Absolutely right, Alls. And the Big Ducks, let's see. Let's take a quick look at their schedule moving forward. So this is going to secure them at the very least top 8, but I guess they do need top 6 to actually get that playoff spot, right, Alls?
That is correct, crewman. And
so they're up against the Nameless Gnomes next week, are the Big Ducks, so that should be another beatable opponent for them. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep this momentum going and make a push towards that top 6.
Yeah, Nameless has been up and down recently, crewman, so it's definitely an opponent that they can win against, but not one that's guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
They've got their work cut out for them.
Absolutely right. Certainly, an opponent that we expect to put up a little bit more of a fight than First Class Esports unfortunately was able to. So, as we were just saying, definitely looking forward to seeing what the Big Ducks are going to be able to do moving forward for the rest of the season. As previously for the first few weeks, they were shuffling the roster all over the place. It looked like they didn't really have a consistent starting 5 that were really able to build that synergy and look for that improvement. So assuming that they can stick with this roster of 5 players for the rest of the season, I think things definitely could be looking up for the Ducks. But who's our game 2 POG, Alls? I think that's really the last order of business tonight.
I think you give it to Vendetta. The side pressure is what kept that game so wide open for this squad. I think everybody else played well, but it was that pressure that made it possible.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does have to go to Vendetta. I mean, finish the game with a 3-level lead and a healthy gold lead as well. I do think an honorable mention can go to Sapsweet on the Amumu, who did a fantastic job setting up those team fights, honestly, both in games 1 and 2. for the squad there. So good work overall for the side of the Big Ducks. Do you have any final thoughts, Alls, on this match or anything concerning BOL Plat League or anything League of Legends in general?
No, I think we've said everything that there has been to say. But Crewman, it has been a blast casting this game with you. They have been incredibly fun and incredibly wild from start to finish.
Yeah, that Ashe volley Baron steal in game 1 is that's gonna keep me up tonight. I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep.
Every time you say that,
still
I hear
thinking about
volley bear steal, and I'm just so confused for a split second.
the volley, the Ashe basic ability, is what stole the Baron in game 1. But yes, that is gonna do it for our week 5 coverage, guys. Again, congrats to the Big Ducks on getting the 2-0, their first real 2-0 of the season. Congrats to them. But from myself, from all of us here, from the entire production team at Blue Otter League, thank you everybody very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We do have, I believe that is the Diamond League, if I'm not mistaken. That is going to be tomorrow night.
Diamond League
Same
here
time,
and
same place.
Gold League on Blue Otter too.
Absolutely. So feel free to catch both of those streams, guys. Going to be some more BOL action for you. That's going to do it from us tonight. We'll see you next week for more Plat League. Until then, stay safe. Good night.